watching a first-round game between the USSR and Cuba. This is an outstanding Russian entry. Arvydas Sabonis, the star of the team, scoring to tie the score at 4-4 in the early going in the first half.
Sabonis, Mel, is considered to be the outstanding premier player in all of Europe. A 7'2" player who scores inside, scores outside, blocks shots, just does it all.
Foul is called on Remus Kurtinaitis of the USSR as he reached in on Luciano Rivero of Cuba. And Sabonis with a block shot, not only a big score, but an intimidator on defense. Tinkonenko going to the basket, and he is fouled. Valery Tinkonenko, a 7th-round draft pick of the Atlanta Hawks. Volkov, number 4, and Tinkonenko were both drafted by your team. And, Mike, what's your reasoning behind drafting these two Russians?
Well, you're talking about two 21-year-old players who are extremely talented. Tinkonenko is 6'9" and shoots the ball extremely well. And I think we see he runs the floor well, puts it on the floor. So our thinking was we have two young prospects who maybe someday down the road would be allowed to play in the NBA.
Foul was called on number 9, Raul Dubois of Cuba. Russia leading 6-4. First half action from Ferrol, one of the 4 first-round sites in the World Basketball Championships. Russia, a big winner last night over Angola, 89-51. Tinkonenko paced that victory with 15 points. What's the Russians' approach on defense, Mike?
Well, they play a kind of passive defense. It's not really one that gets up and puts pressure on the opponents. They're so big, they have so much size that they block many shots, change many shots, and then because of that, rely on their running game to score their points. Their running game can be devastating, Mel.
They've got tremendous size with 3 7-footers. Sabonis at 7'2". Valery Tkachenko, another big player. Vladimir Tkachenko, he's 7 feet 3 inches tall, and they have another 7-footer, Alexander Belosteny, who's a mere 7 feet. So they've got tremendous size.
I was anxious to see the Russian team play because people here are of the opinion that they're a powerhouse. They're just kind of coasting through these early games right now, waiting until they get to the more important opponents.
Pedro Abreu scoring for Cuba to tie it at 6 apiece. And they go inside to the big man Sabonis, and he is fouled. Several years ago, when Sabonis was just 18 years of age, the Russian team toured the United States, and he played against Ralph Sampson. And Sampson at that time called Sabonis the best young player that he'd ever faced.
Well, people here feel that if he were in our NBA draft this year, he would go in the top 5 picks without doubt. He's just talented in every area of the game. In fact, at times they feel the game becomes boring to him, Mel.
Valdis Valters, number 10, scoring for the Russians. They lead 8-6. You mentioned Sabonis. He was indeed drafted this year on the first round by the Portland Trail Blazers. They took Walter Berry as their first pick on the opening round and then drafted Sabonis later.
Well, what I should have said, I should have cleared that up a little bit. What I meant is if he were able to play right away next year without the doubts that people have, he would have gone in the top 5. The concern here is to waste a very high pick on a player who you may never get to have play for you is a big gamble by a team.
The Cuban team capitalizing on a Russian turnover. Abreu unable to put it down, and we've got a foul against Russia's Alexander Volkov, still another player drafted by Atlanta on the 6th round. And realistically, can we expect to see any of these players in NBA uniforms soon?
The general feeling is that maybe after the '88 Olympics, permission will be given for these players to play in the NBA. But no one really knows for sure, Mel. We're kind of playing it by ear right now. You know, we drafted Sabonis a year ago and then lost the rights to him because he was not old enough, did not qualify at the time. And once again, now they all went back into the draft, and we were willing to take the gamble, as was Portland.
Pedro Abreu converting the free throw, and Cuba leads 9-8. I understand the rule has now been changed that when an NBA team drafts a European player, the team retains the rights forever.
In the past, if you did not sign the player after 1 year, he went back into the pool again and eligible for the draft the following season. Now you retain his rights forever.
Raul Dubois scoring for Cuba. The Cubans lead 11-8, playing very well in the early going against a much more powerful Russian team. Sabonis on the turnaround jump shot. He's 7 feet 2, but they say he possesses the skills and quickness of a small forward. Abreu is charged with a foul, his first.
I think here in the replay we see his ability to go out in the high post area and They use him as a passer many times. They feed him up high and let people backdoor cut off him, and then he feeds or shoots from there.
Rimas Kurtinaitis, one of the best outside shooters for the Russian team, connecting on a long jump shot. He and Sabonis are teammates on the Kaunas team in Lithuania.
You know, Kurtinaitis is probably the best big guard prospect that we've seen. He has size, he has great shooting touch, and a little more consistency to his game, and he's going to be outstanding for him.
Leonardo Perez scoring for the Cubans. They lead by 3, 13-10. And a blocking foul is called on Perez. See Perez trying to cut off the baseline, but commits the foul. Kurtinaitis out for a three-pointer. He's really getting hot.
He has good range and real fine release. Plus, with that size, he's quite an interesting prospect.
And the score's tied 13-all. First half action. And Perez for the bank shot. He's been Cuba's most effective weapon in this first half. The Russians convert the fast break with Tinkoninko scoring, and again he shows you how well he can run the floor for a big man.
With his size, the way he runs the floor, he's really exciting. You can see how this team can score points in bunches. I'm talking about runs of 8 and 10 points at a time.
The noted Spanish basketball expert Victor de la Serna has called Tinkoninko the Louis Orr of Siberia.
I think he's a little bit bigger than Louis Orr. He has a little more bulk than Louis Orr does.
And that basket does not count, called on Perez, so it's still 15-all. And finishing off the fast break, Tinkoninko. So the Russians lead 17-15 in their first round game against the Cuban team from La Mata Pavillon in Ferrol. And we'll return with more of our coverage of the 10th Men's World Basketball Championships from Spain in a moment. Carmelo Ortega, the coach of the Cuban team. Vladimir Opakov is the coach of the Russian team. This action coming to you from Ferrol, La Malata Pavillon. Russia, picked by most so-called experts, is one of the teams to win this tournament.
Once again, Mel, there's one of those side out of bounds situations. You have a turnover take place. The Russians are out of bounds, have the ball back in quickly.
Little scoop shot by Sabonis, but he is fouled by number 7, Noan Heldueces. That's his 4th foul. 5 fouls and you're disqualified in international play.
He's just too big, too strong, and too agile for these people right now.
3-point attempt is missed by Walters, but the follow shot is good by Kurtinaitis.
When you have a 6'6" point guard that can go to the glass and tip it in like that, Mel, you have a big advantage.
The Russians leading by 13 points. And a reach-in foul was called on Kurtinaitis. He, Sabonis, and another player on the Russian team, Valdemaras Homičius, are all teammates on the Lithuanian Kaunas team, a club team which won the national championship. Leonardo Perez scoring for Cuba. Russia with an 11-point lead, 70-59 in the second half. Tinkoninko.
He does remind me of Louis Orr a little bit.
Louis Orr of the New York Knicks, of course, with tremendous range from the outside for a forward, and I think that's why he's referred to as the Louis Orr of Siberia. Tinkoninko can also fill it up from the outside. The Russians leading 72-59 at this point in the game. Sabonis with the rejection.
He has the ability to just change shots and basically clog up the entire lane area, and that's a tough job to do with these lanes.
Cubans are still trying to take the ball inside. Beautiful pass by Tinkoninko, and the basket is scored by Alexander Volkov.
I'll tell you, that was an outstanding fast break. The lead pass was great, the catch was great, and to drop it on the floor the way he did. Just knowing that his teammate was on the run, a great follow-up and score after getting fouled. You asked me before why we drafted these two young men. I think that play shows you.
I'm
right
beginning
there,
to see why. easy to picture Volkov and Tinkoninko in Atlanta Hawks uniform.
Well, they're wearing the right colors right now. I mean, look at this youngster. He has a baby face. He's 21 years old, good size, good hands. He can run the floor.
All three of the players, Volkov, Sabonis, Tinkoninko, all just 21 years of age, soon to turn 22, so they have bright futures.
That's another one of those intentional foul situations where they shoot the free throw and get the ball back out of bounds again now.
Kurtinitis is hammered as he goes to the basket, but no foul is called. Again, we should point out that this game is being played in Ferrol, but we're actually at our control center in Madrid, Spain. And we're hoping you're enjoying the action from the 10th Men's World Basketball Championships as Sabonis scores for the Russians and will return. Won the World Championship in 1982 at Cali, Columbia, defeating the United States 95-94. Doc Rivers, who now plays for Mike Fratello with the Atlanta Hawks, missed a shot at the buzzer that would have won the game. And, Mike, it appears the Russians have another very strong team this year.
This is a powerful team. They have a lot of weapons here, and it'll be interesting to see as we go on in the tournament how they play against the better opponents.
Kurtinitis again connecting from the outside for the Russians. He's been their most effective outside shooter. Tinkoninko scoring from medium range and on the fast break, and Sabonis has been the power inside. And so there is the final score as the Russians have won their second straight game in the World Championships, defeating Cuba 129-87. Valery Tinkoninko leading the Russian scoring with 24 points.